Hey guys, today I want to share with you 5 decluttering mistakes to avoid. And these are all really common pitfalls that a lot of us going through our decluttering journeys fall into. I know I've made several of these mistakes myself, but I want to share these with you today so that as you embark on your own personal decluttering process, you can hopefully avoid these mistakes and make the process of decluttering a lot more simple and easier. So I'm super excited to get into this, but before we do, I do quickly want to thank today's sponsor, VANYWHERE, which we'll talk about later on in this video. Let's start off with the first mistake to avoid though, which is tackling too much at once. And I think this is something that a lot of us fall into when we first approach decluttering our homes. We look at how incredibly much there is to do, and we have this motivation and desire to get it all done, and we might allot a day or a weekend trying to tackle everything at once. But honestly, that's a really overwhelming thing to do, and oftentimes just the mere thought of tackling that much is enough to scare off even the best of us. But I think what more often happens is we start trying to declutter our entire home just in a day or a short period of time and realize that it's just not really sustainable. We get overwhelmed, we have decision fatigue, and we just kind of give up on decluttering. One of the best things that you can do to avoid this decluttering mistake is to really break everything down by category. So decide to declutter your kitchen one day, your living room the next, your closet the next, and maybe your car another day. By breaking everything into smaller, more digestible categories, you're really able to gain momentum as you declutter by area, but you're also able to avoid that overwhelm of trying to tackle too much at once. So break everything down into categories rather than trying to tackle everything at once, and that's a great way to avoid this first minimalism mistake. Mistake number 2 is to start off by buying boxes and bins. A lot of us mistake decluttering with organizing. Organizing often entails simply moving things around so that there's hopefully a more aesthetic look to your mess, but decluttering is really all about removing the unnecessary things from your possessions so that your life can be more organized as a result. And so my suggestion for this particular category is to really think through and evaluate, are these items things that I use and things that I love, and make that the basis for whether or not you keep something, not if you have storage space for it. And that's really the biggest danger of going into decluttering at the beginning by buying boxes and bins, is that you have a tendency to declutter so that it can fit into your storage containers rather than decluttering to fit your lifestyle and what you actually use. So my best suggestion for avoiding this decluttering mistake is to simply declutter first and then figure out how to organize what you have left over. And maybe that does mean you buy a box or bin or two, but when you do it after you've decluttered, it allows you to have that intentionality of having storage to fit the possessions that you actually use. Mistake number 3 is not being real with yourself. And I know this is something that I struggled with personally when I began my own decluttering journey, but I think that a lot of us, as we are decluttering our homes, aren't real with ourselves about what we actually use and what we actually love. And I think those should be the criteria that we use for deciding what to declutter. But I think that a lot of us, as we're getting started, especially with decluttering, are very easy on ourselves. And if we remotely like an item, we decide to keep it. And it's only those items that we have absolutely zero attachment to that we decide to get rid of. And don't get me wrong, I'm all on board with the idea of keeping things that you love in your environment and surrounding yourself with things that you love. But if there's something that you like and that it's okay, I don't think it needs to stay in your home. But I feel like a lot of us, as we're beginning our decluttering process, have a tendency to hold on to those it's okay items rather than only keeping what truly brings us joy. And so the best tip that I have for really being able to make that determination is really to imagine your ideal life. Imagine your ideal wardrobe, your ideal kitchen, your ideal bedroom. And if that item doesn't fit in that vision you have for your ideal life, then most likely it's simply a like, not a love. And that's one way of determining it. And then the other way of determining it is to simply practice your decluttering muscle. As you routinely make choices about something that you like versus love, something that adds value versus something that doesn't add value, you begin to be able to more intuitively know whether or not something sparks joy for you. And so it's easier to make those decisions. But I would challenge you, as you're beginning your decluttering process, not to just kind of let yourself get away with not being hard on yourself. Really force yourself to make some of those difficult decisions of, do I actually love this, or is it something that I can do without? Mistake number 4, and this is a huge one, it is to postpone getting decluttered items out of your house. And I know this is definitely something that I have fallen prey to. I've left items that I've decluttered in my home for 3, even 4 months before. But in many ways, this actually goes against the heart of decluttering, which is to get those items out of your space. And so as you're going through your decluttering process, really be intentional about getting items that you've decided to declutter out of your space. Whether this means you need to donate the items, recycle them, whatever the way that you need to dispose of those items, really be intentional about making sure that they leave your home, because there's nothing that's going to tempt you from taking those items back more than not actually getting them out of your house. There's the saying, out of sight, out of mind, and it's totally true that once you have decluttered items leave your house, you forget about them. But while they're sitting in your laundry room or your closet or your bedroom, just in a pile waiting to leave the house, they're still physically adding clutter. And so what I would suggest is that as you go through and declutter your life, really be intentional about making sure those decluttered items leave your home, and try to do it in a responsible way. And then finally, mistake number 5 is decluttering only so you can buy new things. And I think this is a routine that many people fall into, is that they declutter their possessions only to replace them with new possessions. And this really leads them into a consumeristic cycle where, in order to avoid hoarding, they occasionally will declutter their items so that they can make space for what's new. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not trying to say that if you have a worn out item that you shouldn't replace it, or that consumerism is inherently a bad thing. What I'm actually trying to get at here is the fact that our goal in decluttering shouldn't be about making room for new items. It should be about removing the excess so that we can have a more intentional life. There's something called the Pareto principle, which is essentially that we use 20% of the things that we own 80% of the time. And that's a really dramatic ratio to think about. And it's very true for most of us. And we can apply that to so many different things, whether that's our closets, our kitchens, the things that we use on a daily basis. And so by decluttering, try to have that mindset of what are the things that I use continually that I want to keep in my life going forward, and what's maybe that other 80% of the things that I don't use as often, that maybe are excess and that I don't actually need. There are so many incredible benefits to living with less, and so rather than decluttering only to add new things to your life, what I would suggest is to declutter so that you can have a more intentional life that's filled with things that you actually use. So there you have it. Those are the 5 decluttering mistakes that I've made and that I hope can serve as a lesson or a reminder for you as you're going through and decluttering your life. And if you're in the process of decluttering or minimizing your life, I wanted to share with you a little bit about today's sponsor, which is VANYWHERE. And VANYWHERE is a really cool app that I'm partnering up with today, which lets you talk one-on-one with experts in everything from minimalism to cooking. And it lets you talk with experts in that field and really ask them your questions one-on-one, and even get personalized advice by video calls with them personally. So the best part is that VANYWHERE is actually giving $10 to all of my subscribers to use on the app to talk one-on-one with those experts. And I'm actually going to be on VANYWHERE this week and hopefully for many weeks in the future. But on Thursday and Friday this week from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time, so that's the 20th and 21st, I believe, I'm going to be on there. And if you want to go ahead and call me and ask me any questions you have about minimalism or decluttering, or simply if you want to talk about something else, I'm super excited to talk with you guys all one-on-one. So definitely hit me up on there. I'll have a link in the description box where you can go ahead and download the app. And I really look forward to talking with you guys and meeting several of you guys one-on-one on VANYWHERE. I think it's going to be a really awesome opportunity for me really to be able to connect with you guys, answer your questions in a much more in-depth and personalized way, and hopefully connect and maybe make some friends. So check out VANYWHERE for sure, and thank you so much to them for sponsoring this video. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about some of these decluttering mistakes that I've made, and hope that you can learn a lesson from them and hopefully avoid them in the process. Also, if you have any other decluttering mistakes that you may have made in the past that you have since learned from, let me know what those are in the comments below. I think it's really interesting how we can all learn from each other's experiences. So let me know what your decluttering mistake was in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video and want to see more like it, definitely be sure to subscribe below for more minimalism and intentional living videos coming at you twice a week. I love you guys all so much though. Thank you so much to VANYWHERE for sponsoring this video, and you guys have a fantastic day today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.